What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to CRÜZR Radio episode 15. I am your host, Wesley Hill, and this week we're doing something a little bit different. I get the awesome opportunity to sit down one-on-one with no other than Mr. Jacob Morton. This guy runs the Fowlmouth Podcast, and on top of that, runs Tailspin Waterfowl. This guy knows anything and everything when it comes to waterfowl and hunting public land. Let's get into it.
My big deal is I always tell my girlfriend if, living the dream and stuff, get to do whatever I want. I said, if I own a hunting company, do the podcast, make six figures, I said, that's all I'm going to do. I was like, I can make more money than that in my other businesses and stuff. I was like, that's what I'd rather be doing that than anything else. So
yeah, it's pretty wild, dude. Honestly, like it's just so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the thing that's wild is we're on like this will come out as episode 15. Yeah. But I've talked to more people just since September, since we started the podcast, than I ever have before, which is just strange.
The podcast we just released, I guess we put it out Sunday. We had a guy that we always talk about on there, and his name's Connor Reddick, and he owns, he's either owner or part owner in this duck club in Arkansas called Wild Wings. And I was talking about how I was like, we don't know him, but you can see their Instagram and stuff. I was like, Wild Wings is the best Instagram, they're the best club in Arkansas and stuff, like hands down best lodge. And he just reached out to us this morning and he was like, hey guys, appreciate the shout out. Like he wanted to do a podcast with us.
Oh, dude, that's so cool, dude. Dude, that's wild. That's nice. Man. It's just strange because it's like, it's almost like we talk with Chad, the guy that owns CRÜZR, all the time about what's it called, like imposter syndrome, where it's just like slowly this is just continuously building. But like we have people commenting on our podcast, which is just cool. But like people are saying my name and I have like no clue who they are, and like I don't care. But it's just wild. Like you would never expect it.
Yeah, it's like real interesting whenever, like, because we end up at a lot of public spots and guys be like, oh, are you like the Fowlmouth guys? Like, the podcast? I'm like, oh, yeah. And they're like, man, we listened to it the whole way here. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's good to know and stuff. It's odd though. Like people ask us like where we thought the podcast would be at. And because we started in October of 21. Okay. And I guess it's 22. Yeah. October 21 or September, somewhere around in there. And we both were like, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. And then we were talking about it the other day and I was like, I would have never thought that we would have even made it this far. I was like, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. Just cause I'm like a content freak and like, I love looking at the analytics and everything else. I found a statistic. And most podcasts, so it's actually like 98% of podcasts actually fail before episode 8.
Oh, so I can totally see that.
So if you make it past episode 8, you're part of the 2% of podcasts in the world. And then what's wild is if you can get past like 36 episodes, you're like 0.5%. Yeah. Which is just it's just wild.
We obviously, like I said, I listen to a lot of podcasts. And so I'll go in and like look for something specific. Like I'll type in duck hunting or whatever, and I'll scroll through Spotify and I'll find a podcast I've never seen. I'm like, oh, I should listen to this like last episode published like 3 years ago, and you're like, oh, dang. Like,
and like half of them are like great. Like they're good podcasts.
Yeah. My favorite podcasts to listen to now are, which I listen to like all sorts of stuff, but like I listen to Joe Rogan and everything. Of course. And I, if I listen to an old one, I go back pre-COVID and listen to them talk, and it's a whole different world. It's so much fun.
Dude, that's wild. I need to do that actually. That sounds like a good idea.
You go right before COVID. You go like where they're just talking about it, and you're like, oh yeah, you don't know yet, do you? You don't know what's coming.
That's wild.
It's like the kid from The Sixth Sense, man. You're like, he doesn't know, does he?
That's wild. Yeah. Well, dude, we've got the podcast going. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell me who you are, what you do.
So my name's Jacob Morton. I host the Fowlmouth Podcast, which is a waterfowl podcast with my co-host Denver Hall, who couldn't be here because he has a family, unlike me. And I've got a dog. That's about it. Yeah. And I own a local landscaping company here in Memphis, and he owns a couple businesses as well. He's in the construction industry and HVAC industry. But together we do the podcast, and then together with another friend of ours, we own Tailspin Waterfowl, which is more or less a media company. I'd say we kind of like, we shoot content for it and publish it. I mean, we just publish stuff on Instagram. We haven't shot anything for anyone else yet, but it's kind of getting to the point where, you know, we're like, hey, do we want to move into that space? Do we want to start selling products? We've kind of, you know, worked on possibly developing a few different, just different products that other people are already making, but we, you know, just think we can make it better pretty much. Yeah.
Hey, dude, that's literally like ideal product sales right there. Is just find something it already existing and then just make it better.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, honestly, big time, would describe myself as, hardcore public land duck hunter.
Yeah.
And, very rarely get to hunt private land. We do get invites and we take them where we can get them. But I mean, we turn down private invites to go hunt public because it's just more, I mean, it's fun,
dude. Well, my first ever public land experience for duck was this morning. Yeah, it was awesome, but it was rough. It was rough.
It is. I mean, it's a year round. You know, we joked on our last podcast with a buddy that he's like, well, you know, I'm year round at my duck club. You know, putting in the effort and stuff, versus, you know, like I'm year round with my boat. Like in July this year, I was underneath the deck of a boat trying to wire things up and stuff. And so I was like, well, you don't have to, you know, you're not dealing with that. You know, mechanically, I'm having to deal with stuff that he's not having to deal with. And so it still ends up being, I mean, we break stuff all the time. Like I installed a whole new sound system in my boat this year, already destroyed. Don't know what happened to it. Pretty sure the amp just fried itself. And so we're rolling no tunes to the duck hole this year. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Daggum. Dude, I was literally like, I'm a bit of a poser when it comes to just equipment and just anything I get into. I'm like, oh, I got to get the best of the best. Yeah. And I started to do that for duck hunting. And then I was like, wow. I was like, I don't know if I can actually do this.
Yeah. It's tough to have to be at least like hardcore is not the word, because you can be like kind of into duck hunting and not be able to have another hobby because it's just everything is if it ain't $100, it's $1,000.
I figured that out. We went to Bass Pro and I was just getting stuff. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get some decoys. I was like, I'm gonna see what I can get. And I ended up getting, I thought I was getting a 6-pack, 2 6-packs and getting 12. And I got the cheapest ones there. They were like $60. They don't look the greatest, but I was like, okay, this will get me started at least. And I still spent like $120 for them. Yeah. And then I realized I got 24 instead of 12, and I was like, sick. This is awesome. Yeah.
But so we've kind of changed it up, which over the years. So I started out with decoys just like that. Yeah. You know, redhead decoys. And I think my dad bought them for me for Christmas when I was in high school. And I ran those literally till the keels fell off of the bottom of them. And like I got through one out one time. I was like, why is that decoy floating away? And whenever they picked it up, I was like, oh, the keel fell off.
Yeah, because the bottom's missing.
I was like, we've got no weight on it, no string, no nothing anymore. Yeah. And so then I kind of moved into like I bought some GHG decoys and I've got some dive bomb floaters and stuff. And that was kind of like the nicer getting into that. And as of Christmas this year, I'll be running nothing but heyday decoys, which is like
so they've got
lifetime.
So theirs is made out of a hydrofoam.
Yeah. Okay. Supposedly you can do whatever to it. Yeah. And Denver's got some, I've got some, and we haven't decided to shoot them yet. Okay. We really we're waiting to sacrifice one and just be like, oh, we're gonna find out how good they really are. But honestly, unless they have a giant hole in them, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. You know, they may need to be repainted after 3 or 4 seasons, but I expect them to last me for probably 4 or 5 years.
And they've got 2 keels on them, right?
Yeah. So honestly, they're just hollow in the center, and so it's a double keel system. They've got weights in them, so no matter which way you throw them, they'll always right themselves over. And it's pretty good design. It's very interesting. They can get misshaped, but they tell you how to fix them if that's the case.
Feels like it's probably just like you pop it out or something like that.
Yeah, well, you take a blow dryer. And
it'll just go back. That's cool. That's cool.
They're cool. You know, and then you end up with it just depending on what kind of hunting you're doing, duck hunting, you end up with Lord knows how much stuff. I mean, if you're a private land guy, you pay for a lease every year. You know, that's however much. You know, your guy like me, it's got a boat. Well, boat's outside, by the way. If you want to see it.
For real? Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'm driving over after this, go sleep at a boat ramp. And so, you just end up with with just mounds of stuff. But I won't ever get rid of any of the other decoys because I'm like, well, if we have a lease one day, maybe I'll take these decoys over here and stuff. So I've got a shed at my parents' house that's I just hang decoys from the rafters up there, and I'll keep doing it until my dad tells me not to.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Either the roof's gonna cave in or they tell you to stop.
Yes,
it's gonna be one of the two.
Yeah,
that's cool, dude. So how long have you been duck hunting?
So I started hunting when I was in high school. I started duck hunting when I was 16. I started deer hunting when I was 7.
Okay.
And we've got family land. My dad still deer hunts. He's a big deer hunter, and my uncle's a big deer hunter. I've hunted with them for years. And when I was like 18, I think I shot a 9-point like at 7:30 in the morning, and I was just like ruined after that. Like I didn't really
it'll get you spoiled. Anymore.
But I started duck hunting a whole lot more in college, and got in with some friends. I had leases and stuff. Ended up walking in a lot more at a lot of places, and then right before COVID, I guess I ended up buying a boat. Yeah, and so since then I've hunted at least 30 days every year. I hunted 30 days that year. Last year I think I hunted 40, 42, something like that. This year I'll hunt close to 40, maybe 45.
Yeah, we've got 2 friends at home, and literally when season starts for deer, that's what they focus on. But the moment duck season starts, that's all they do. Yeah, and they've got like not a couple. They actually have a lot of permission ponds in our area, and every night he'll go out during season. And he'll just check all the ponds, see which one's filling up. Yeah. And then the next morning he's in that pond. And he does that for every single day.
Yeah. It's wild. Duck hunting's a rough existence 60 days out of the year, which some places the season's even longer. But we just go hard and go hard and go hard. Like last weekend, I was driving home Sunday and I was just dying. I could not wait to be home. And because I'd slept too long on Thursday night, and then got up and drove over to Arkansas and stuff. And then I didn't sleep very well Friday night in my truck. Usually you sleep best in your truck whenever you've didn't sleep well the night before. And then we hung out with some private land guys and ended up staying up till like 11 or something. Well, none of them were getting up till 5, and we were getting up at 2:45. And so I sleep for a few hours and get up and go run to a hole and just hope for the best.
Dude, that's wild, man. And the thing that's really cool, like, especially like what I've noticed so far in duck hunting, which I don't have a lot of experiences, but like the major difference between private or like a guided service or whatever that is compared to public. Like for me, like if I go hunt public in Tennessee, anywhere, like for deer, I'm getting up at 4 a.m. Yeah. Like, it's not too wild. But you guys, like, not just you, but I've heard other people, like, 2:30, 3 a.m., first one at the dock, like, first one to put their boat in and get the spot. Like, there's so much dedication involved.
So when's this podcast going to come out?
Probably next week or 2 weeks
so it'll be after Christmas.
Yeah.
So it's pre-Christmas.
Yeah.
For anybody
couple days.
On Christmas Day, I'll finish Christmas with my girlfriend's family probably around 3:00. And as soon as we're done, I'm getting in the truck, driving to Arkansas, and sleeping at boat ramp for 2 days.
Golly,
dude. Because that's how you get the number 1 spot in line. That's how, and which just because you get the number 1 spot in line doesn't mean that you're going to get the number 1 hole in there. And even if you get the number 1 hole in there, it completely is based upon skill at that point. Like the ducks don't want to die in there. Like that's the misconception a lot of guys run into hunting public land is like, oh man, if we get in there and we get that hole, the ducks are just going to die at treetop level and just land in the water. They'll die as soon as they come in here. And that's not the case. You have to coax them down there. And if you're not running the right decoy setup, which we've done before, all the ducks could come in there, end up on the other side of the hole, and you kill none of them. Yeah. There's plenty of factors like that play into it and stuff. But
it's wild, man. Like, it's really cool just to like listen to other people's experiences. Like, I'm just trying to learn it now and figure it out. And just making ducks work is just the wildest thing. Like, trying to get them to come down to your decoys.
Yeah.
Like at first when we were at Reelfoot, and like it was an awesome experience for especially for like a first time, because we just had a lot of action.
And plus, it's a cool like experience. I'm sure y'all were in a big blind. They cooked y'all breakfast and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a total experience.
Yeah, and it's cool, but it's like I think part of that slightly spoiled me.
Oh yeah,
because it's like it's like I don't know if I want to get up at. Because we were getting up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, getting to the boat dock by 6. In the blind, literally first thing you do, pull out your shotguns, look over, and then it's light.
Yeah.
And they're already inside cooking breakfast for you and everything else, which is just wild. But it's really interesting how much different duck hunting is compared to just deer hunting.
Yeah.
And it's like when I've had this like thought in my head of like duck hunting is going to be like you go in, you're going to shoot them. And that is not the case at all.
Yeah.
And there's just, I want to say this, a lot of our fans are probably going to hate this, but I'm going to say it. I feel like there's more work involved for duck hunting than there is for deer hunting.
Man, if you are hunting a specific deer, right, there's a lot of work involved in that. It's hard. It's completely tough just depending on what you're doing, really, more than anything. But with duck hunting, I mean, you can get out there and not shoot anything a whole lot. And like I had a guy tell me the other day, and he's in high school, and he's like, man, when I get to be your age, I want to do exactly what you do. I want to go hunt all the time and stuff. And he's like, how do I kill that many ducks is what he asked me. And I said, well, you just get your teeth kicked in for like 3 years and you'll be fine. You'll figure it all out, because it's all about trial and error. Because especially all these public land places, you're allowed to go in at 4 o'clock at almost all of them, but you can't go in before that. And most of them you have to be off by noon. And so like guys like us, we sit, we can go out there and hunt in the morning and bang out a 2-man limit, 3-man limit. We'll probably still sit in our hole until noon, because we're keeping other guys from coming in there. You don't want other guys to come in and scout your spot, because you want to go back and get that spot the next day. So it's tough. Everything becomes trial and error at that point if you're going to an area that you've never been to before, because everything, you don't know where anything is. You don't know what the water levels are like. And so you have to go in and find the ducks and kind of work your way around all that. And so, I mean, it's tough to figure it out versus, deer hunting, you can go in and scout a property, like days before. You can go walk around. Like, you may walk up on some guys that are hunting, like which you don't really want to do, but like you have the option to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like duck season, you can't go rolling your boat through somebody's spread without, coming back to the boat ramp. Your tires may be slashed, or something. And which I've never had a bad interaction like that. But we've
definitely heard it just in the course of like 3 weeks. It's wild.
Oh yeah, everybody talks about hunting public land and being scared of like either the locals or just other guys. They're like, man, people tell me all the time, like, I don't want to hunt public land. I don't want to get in a fight with anyone. Like, well, I've been hunting it for years and I've never even seen anybody fight each other. And I've heard about it, but I've never actually seen it. And most of the time, it's just exaggerated. Like, unfortunate reality is I'm dealing with a bunch of high school and college kids a lot of times on those places, and it's just exaggerated over the fact.
It's hunting stories is basically what it is.
Bass Pro's got a great sign that says, welcome hunters, fishermen, and other liars.
Yeah.
Up there. And I firmly believe that's the case most of the time with stuff like that.
Dude, that's wild, man. So like let's run the scenario, which it's really not even a scenario. I don't know anything about duck hunting.
Yeah.
Like someone who's just wanting to get into it, what would be like the first steps you would tell? Because I went on Facebook and I joined some groups.
Yeah.
And I figured, I do this with hunting and other stuff, and it works out really well. I'll see what I can, people will tell me. And everything everybody told me was like the rudest thing ever. Yeah. People were like, we don't need no more weekend warriors and all this stuff, which, I expected something to probably happen, like a couple comments, but no comments were like, hey, try this or do this. Yeah. This is good advice for someone getting into it.
So, first off, Facebook is toxic. I love getting on there though. I don't post anything, but I may stir the pot a little bit. You kind of throw it in there in the comments and stuff.
Just one comment and 300 comments.
It's like ridiculous. But number one thing jokingly, and I sort of mean this jokingly, but I also mean it very truthfully, that I tell everyone that wants to get into duck hunting is to make friends with someone that has a boat. It's like, because that is your real ticket in sometimes. But no, I always tell people, like, if you're really interested and curious about it, and you've never been duck hunting before, the best thing to do is do exactly what you did. Go on a guided hunt somewhere like Reelfoot, go to Arkansas, go on the nicest guided hunt that you can afford is what I tell people. And because some people are like, hey, I don't know that I want to pay $600 for, 2 days of hunting. Like, but you couldn't pay $600 and just go hunt on your own, in Arkansas. Like, you could, but you're not going to probably get much out of it. You may kill 1 duck or 2 ducks, but most of the time, that's why I tell people, you want to get started or you don't know that you're going to like it, go to a guide service. There's plenty of reputable guide services. If you get on a Facebook group like that, and you ask about a guide service, people,
they definitely seemed a little bit more willing to send me that than spots to go. So
oh man, nobody. Which we were joking before this. Nobody gives their spots away. People talk about e-scouting all the time because it does. When I get on Facebook and I'm on like Arkansas Duck Hunters and all these big groups, I'm on West Tennessee Duck Hunters too. If you're on there. And
that's where I mostly got all the comments.
It's toxic. But guys will post on there like, hey man, does anybody know if there's ducks at Felsenthal, or is there ducks at the White River, or those? I mean, those are all spots in Arkansas and stuff. And of course, nobody really gives them a straight answer. Every now and again, someone will. And I hate stuff like that because, like the rest of us, I drive an F-250 and it burns diesel like no one's business. And it's like, why would I, put in all the effort and the miles just to tell you, like, where to go? By the way, there's ducks here. You know? And we've got guys like that. That's the other thing. If you want to get into duck hunting, you got buddies that hunt. I'd tell them straight up, like, hey, man, I want to get into duck hunting, but don't automatically assume that gets you the invite. And so, like, there are guys that we hunt with or have hunted with and stuff, and they just I don't want to say refuse, but they don't put in the work like we do. I'm out here sleeping in my truck
the night before,
three nights a week, really, and driving 300-400 miles in 2 days, or in 1 day last week, just to try to find birds, try to figure out where we want to go. Walking into this spot, walking into that spot, and they're like, oh, so what's the plan in the morning? Like, well, what's your plan in the morning?
Yeah, because I know what I'm doing, but you're not coming with me.
And that's
I get that.
There's a couple guys I give passes to, like that. Like Denver and I, we both go scout equally as much. But if he was going scouting today and we were going to go hunt tomorrow, we would hunt together still. He would let me apart, and just as I would him too, because we're just tight like that. But
you got that core group.
We're like kind of the 2 core guys and stuff out of the group of guys that we end up hunting with, and so we end up doing all the work and stuff. But if you can meet a guy like me, and be like, man, I really want to get into duck hunting. That's great. I love it when people say that, and they're like, the sport needs more people. A lot of guys on Tennessee duck hunters and stuff are probably like, we don't need any more duck hunters and everything. But like, honestly, that's the only way the sport grows, and the only way that we get more land is if the sport grows. And so if you get in with some guys, you text them during duck season, because if they're anything like me, man, we're going 90 to 1,000,000 miles an hour, like all the time. And I don't have time in the back of my head to think, oh yeah, hey, John said he wanted to get into duck hunting, I should invite him to go. But if John would text me and be like, hey man, I've been wanting to go, do y'all have room at some point this season? Well, odds are I'm probably going. So if you're free today, come on down. We'll go hunt.
Like, make sure that person, whoever you are that's wanting to get into it, take the initiative. Because I'm the same way with deer hunting. If somebody says like, hey, I want to get into it, during deer season, we're out in the woods almost every single day. And so it's like, same thing there. If you approach me, like, I will take you. But if you don't approach me, then I'm not going to put forth the effort either.
Yeah, the best thing that we always tell people too is if you do something like that, like, ask what you can do. You know, be like, hey man, if they do say, hey, yeah, you can go hunting, like, be like, hey, can I buy you a tank of gas? Do I need to bring breakfast? Snacks? What can I bring? Can I make coffee? Whatever. And that's like the best way to really get in, because you make yourself useful first off. But it's just like courteous and stuff.
Of course. Well, that's cool, dude. So going on to just with the whole idea of duck hunting and someone who's new, like as far as equipment goes, like what would you recommend? Like, is there a starting gun to start with? Like, what is it?
You can spend as much money as you want to spend.
Yeah, no, I've definitely noticed that. noticed that.
There's first thing that really everyone needs, you need waders, right? And you need a shotgun. That's really the two main things. You can't, and most people automatically assume that I would say you need a duck call. That's not the truth. Plenty of guys out there that can't blow a duck call. It took me years to figure, and I am not a master at blowing a duck call. In fact, it is a miracle that I can even call birds into any hole whatsoever. And I've been blowing one since I was in high school. But I usually tell guys, you need a shotgun, you need waders. You can buy neoprene waders. You can get Cabela Super Mag waders for like $200 probably, and or you could buy really nice Shin or Sitka waders for $1,000+. And it just kind of depends on how much you want to spend. Same with the shotgun. You can walk in with the 870. Do whatever you want, or you just go ahead and bite the bullet, which I wish I would have, and buy a Super Black Eagle 3. And just spend the $1,900 to start out. Like, it's just money.
Yeah, that's all it is. Like, we get it back.
And stuff like that. That's really the two main things that you need to start. It's just waders and a shotgun. And, you can kind of go from there, and you just end up piling stuff on. And, from there, you'd think eventually you'd run out of things to buy. That's what my dad always says to me. And, because I constantly have packages show up at their house, and, they live in the country, so I like my stuff going out there. I don't like my package thieves in my neighborhood. Get it? And he's like, you'd think you'd just run out of things to purchase for duck hunting. And I'm like, nope, still going. And, I picked up a new, sling today. Did I really need a new sling for my shotgun? No, but it's like a completely different design and style.
And it's better, blah, blah, blah.
And
I get that.
I give a million reasons why I bought
it. I do the same thing with my wife, dude. Like, I needed this one singular round that I'm never going to shoot, but it's going to sit on my desk, stuff like that.
Well, that's the other thing, you end up buying, you duck hunt a lot like us. We buy cases of ammo, and we bought a case of ammo a couple weeks ago, and I'm already like, dang, is this the last box? How are we already down this far into this case? And I'm like, well, I guess we just suck at shooting because we haven't killed enough ducks for me to justify having been through this case already. So.
Dude, it was funny when we were at Reelfoot, our guides were giving us so much crap because we just couldn't hit a bird. And we had enough birds coming in the first day and the second day that we could have limited out both days. And we had 7 or 8 people in the blind. But we only killed I want to say the first day was 19 birds. But dude, we would have a group of 10 or 15 fly down in front of us. We'd only kill 1 or 2, man. And it was just we couldn't hit a freaking bird to save our life.
The problem with big groups is lack of communication. Everybody aims at the same bird.
Yep, that's exactly what was happening. And the meat we were getting was just pretty much pounded.
We were hunting opening weekend, and we leave a duck camp, and we had a bunch of guys with us, and it was 8 of us total. And so day 1 limited out 48 birds, 8-man limit, great day. Day 2 we limited out, and we were at 48 birds, 8-man limit, just 2 stellar days back to back. Well, by the time that day 2, I think we limited out about 9:30 or 10, something like that. But I most definitely shot my 6 ducks already. And so I put my gun down around probably bird 35, 36 or something like that. And the birds were working, and we had a couple guys that could call, and a couple guys that they come hunt with us, but they're not really good at calling and stuff. So I just put my shotgun down and I just called. I felt like a guide. It was kind of fun, And we were on bird 47, and I'm sitting down there just quack, 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 and I had these 2 ducks coming in, and then another group joined up with them, and there's 8 ducks coming in, and I was like, this is it right here, boys. And they came in, cupped up right in our spread, literally in my face, could have reached out and grabbed the band off that man's leg himself, and I said, y'all only kill 1, and 6 guys shooting missed every single bird in that group. Dude, bird fly. I was like, y'all couldn't hit the broadside of a dang barn. That's ridiculous. And I was like, I could have killed it with a slingshot. That's wild. And then one of my buddies ended up, one circled back around, and he landed, and he shot him. I said, well, I don't know why you didn't do that on the first volley. Yeah. And so it's just like, it's wild what people can and can't hit. But that's like, we were in an open spot. Man, when we hunt in the timber, and like, I mean, and there are guys that are like, oh yeah, man, we're hunting in the timber. Like, no, you're hunting a bank. And we hunt a timber hole, just wide enough for the ducks to come down in there. And when the ducks are in there, they're in your face. And it is so, it's still easy to miss them, but it's hard.
It takes a little bit of skill to
it takes skill to
suck.
miss the duck at that like length from you. And we the other day we missed some because we had gun malfunctions, and both of us did, and we were just hunting 2 people that day. And it's fun to work them around a timber hole. It's completely different than hunting an open place like real foot and stuff. You kind of hammer that call a little bit, but you don't hammer it too much and stuff, because you're not really, real foot, they are competing with a bunch of other blinds and stuff, but when we're hunting in the timber, man, you want those ducks to know you're down there, and you just hammer that call. I was lightheaded when we left there, and you just crack, and then you're leaned up against a tree, and you're like, they're on our backs, and you're chattering the whole time, and with 2 of us, it's like ridiculous, like, because you don't get any breaks. The best sweet spot in there is hunting with 4 guys that can call, because 2 can call for a little bit, take a break, the other 2 can call, because you're just constantly hitting the calls, even if you don't really see ducks flying, because they could be flying just on the other side of the trees, and you just don't know that they're there. And it is nothing like hunting in the timber in Arkansas. It is the best feeling in the world to see greenhead cupped up, just backpedaling down into the hole, and you're like, I fooled him. I fooled that duck. That duck thinks that there are other ducks in this hole, and he's going to come down here and land, and he's going to die here. It's just, it doesn't get any better than that, period.
Golly, dude. It was cool because this morning we went over on the Wolf River, which was really cool. We didn't kill anything. We couldn't get anything to come close. We did have one set of birds that were flying straight towards us, and there's some other guys there which, it's public land. They have a right to hunt as well. Yeah. Blew the shotguns. They blew off. That was probably going to be our only shot to kill anything. But just in general, something that I think is extremely interesting about duck hunting, especially compared to deer hunting, is just seeing the birds fly around you is just a wild scene to watch. Like, I felt like more of a bird watcher today than I did a hunter. Yeah. But even then, like, I almost, like, obviously if I've got deer around me and stuff like that, I get just as much enjoyment. And if I have a buck around me, obviously I get a lot more personally. But there's like nothing like that, dude. No. Like, I was super shocked when we went to Reelfoot, and even this morning, like, just the amount of just joy and fun you have just sitting there and trying to get birds to work into you is one of the coolest things.
It's fun. It can be frustrating sometimes, but it's honestly just like we can sit there and work a group for 5 minutes even, and then they fly off, and we're just like, dang, wish they'd come down here, and then you just sit there for a second and you go, man, that was fun. Like that was it was super cool, because especially in the timber, like, we're kicking water, we're making noise, like, we want the ducks to think that there's other ducks down in there, and it's just pure just organized chaos and fun all in the same, and even when they don't do it right, you're just like, dang, like, that was cool, we had a good time doing that and stuff. So
that's pretty wild. So it's like, far as like camo goes and trying to be concealed, like, how much effort do you and just the people you're around put into that to try to stay hidden?
So it depends. I wear brown waders. I don't wear camo waders. But most of the time we're hunting the timber. You know, you're up against a tree. You're literally hiding against a tree. And we always say if the ducks are flying over, especially the guys on call, we're like bills and bellies, which means you tuck your hat into the tree, put your hat bill in the tree, and put your belly on the tree, and basically that duck's gonna think you're part of the tree. Yeah. And so I do wear camo jackets, like I wear Sitka timber and stuff. Yeah. And then as far as, I paint my face. Typically, if it's just two of us going, we'll paint our faces. And I just burn a cork and rub it on me. Yeah. And if it's cloudy, I do that. Because if it's sunny, we'll hide in the shadows. Yeah. And so, cloudy day, it's real easy for the ducks to see you. They don't have anything blinding them. There's no shadows to hide behind. It's tough to kill them on a cloudy day. So.
Dang. Yeah, when we were at Reelfoot, every day we were hunting was like super cloudy.
Oh, yeah.
The first day was extremely foggy, which honestly was cool because you would just like have a whole group of birds come out of nowhere and they're right in front of you, which is just awesome. But
yeah, the sun didn't come out for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. It was rough. Yeah. Which it was a good time, and we still had, a good amount of birds killed, but it was just wild to see. Yeah. But that's interesting, dude. And something else that I've been thinking about, just about hunting in general, is like trying to understand decoys. Like, does having extremely realistic decoys make a difference?
Yeah, I think it does. We joked all the time, like, Avery Superstores in Memphis, and so which Avery is owned by Bandit, and they own Greenhead Gear and stuff, and so we go to the Superstore all the time. And they ran a deal on like feeder decoys one time. And it was a feeder pack. It's like 6 decoys, maybe $30 or $40, and they're like good sized decoys and stuff. Well, like we joked one time that like we're like, why do all our decoys have their heads in the water? And like one of them doesn't even have a head on it, and it's because they're all feeder decoys. And so I think that those work sometimes hunting in the timber. They didn't work other places that we hunted because we go some places that aren't the timber, and we're like those ducks are like what are those idiot ducks doing down there with their heads in the water and stuff, in 10 feet of water. And so like it does make a difference as far as using the right decoys for the right situations, number one. But, having ultra realistic looking decoys, it's a big thing. Those ducks look hard. When they come down to Arkansas, those ducks aren't stupid. And all the dumb ducks get killed up north. And the ducks that are coming to Arkansas, there's some dumb ducks opening weekend. Like you're like, what was that guy thinking? Coming down in here. And but they're definitely, the ducks are, I don't know if you watch them on YouTube and stuff, but there's a guy called Dr. Duck. His name's Dennis Loser. And we listen to him talk all the time. Met him a couple times. He's a great dude. And he says that the ducks down here are Ivy League ducks. And they're the smartest ducks in the country. You're coming down here because they've been shot at everywhere from Canada all the way to Missouri. And so by the time they come to us in Arkansas, they're like they've seen it all. They've seen every decoy spread. They've seen everything. And so you having ultra realistic decoys is important, at least because just one little thing can flare those ducks off. If they hear one, wrong call in the group, if they're like, hey, why is the calling coming from over here, but all the ducks are over there? Like, are there other ducks in these woods back behind them? So like a lot of times we'll throw decoys like behind us, just a couple of decoys, so that the ducks go, oh, those are the ducks making this noise and stuff. And so like there's all these little factors that play into it, especially once they get down here. Not saying it's hard to kill ducks, or it's not hard to kill ducks up north, but it's pretty dang hard to kill ducks in Arkansas, so especially on public land.
Dang. So like as far as the ducks you guys are seeing, are they mostly mallards, or what does that look like?
When we hunt in the timber, we'll kill almost all mallards. You see wood ducks for sure. Every now and again a random pintail will show up, and I've heard of guys shooting a widgeon and stuff out in the woods, but typically that's all that we're shooting. Whenever we're hunting more open areas and stuff, I mean, man, this year we've shot the most variety of ducks we've ever shot. We shot canvasback, redhead, somebody shot a ringneck. It wasn't me. Yeah. And we shot wood ducks this year, pintails, teal. Oh, the teal do like to come in the timber occasionally too. And then let's see. I mean, we like walk. Oh, we shoot a decent number of gadwall depending on where we are. Like we walked out one day and we're like, this is the most mixed bag I've ever seen in my entire life. And but the king to me is mallards. Yeah. Shooting greenhead, just a Drake mallard. It couldn't be anything better. They've got the most amount of meat on them. They taste the best, other than maybe teal. And wood duck's pretty good. I'm not a big fan of shooting wood ducks because I used to be, but wood ducks eat good. They're big butterball turkey kind of duck is what they are. And but shooting mallards is just the peak of the peak. That's mostly what we see in the timber. And those are the birds that work the absolute best too. If you can get the mallards to come down in there, you have fooled them. You've done everything right, basically.
Daggum. That's cool. And as far as like snow geese or just geese in general, do you guys see a lot in Arkansas or?
Oh yeah, ridiculous amount.
Yeah, I was told that in order to like hunt snow geese in general, you need to purchase a small home worth of decoys. And
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like there are guys that show up with 24-foot trailers just full of decoy, like enclosed trailers full of decoys. I've never been on a snow goose hunt. I've wanted to go, and it's just like by the time February rolls around, I've hunted 40-something days.
Yeah, you're just pretty much beat.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care about anything else. And I'm ready to get back to my normal life, kind of, make my girlfriend feel better about me being gone for
make up 6 months worth or 3 months worth of time.
And then we shoot Canadas every now and again whenever they show up. We shot a couple like 2 weekends ago. We got our teeth kicked in like the whole weekend. Damn. And we just were like, we left and we were joking on the way back home. We were like, that's the worst weekend of hunting we've ever had.
Daggum, dude.
And but the highlight of the whole weekend was we saw some Canadas flying about 5 minutes before shooting light was going to end because we were hunting the afternoon. And I jokingly had told Denver earlier because he called it some. I said, that's the best sounding Canada call you've ever hit. And we saw these 3 Canadas come in, and I said, why don't you call them suckers in over here, like jokingly? And he called them, and sure enough, they turned, and then they missed us, and he called them again, and they turned back around and cupped up like right over top of us, and we shot a little early. We ended up knocking one down. Yeah. And I was just like, highlight of the weekend right there.
That's cool.
That's like one of the best things we could have done today. So.
Yeah, I've been one of the buddies that has a bunch of ponds. He's a really cool guy, but he's telling me like his favorite bird to kill is geese, just because he said there's no other sound in the world when you shoot one and it hits the water, it just hits the ground.
Yeah, the place where we were hunting was fairly shallow, and that goose fell out of the sky and kicked up mud. Like we'd shot ducks there already, and they just fall in the water, and you're like, oh yeah, that thing made a crater in the ground whenever it hit the water, and it hit so hard. And I was like, well, that was fun, and went and picked him up, and that was basically it for the afternoon too. So
golly, yeah, when we were at Reelfoot, we were talking to our guide about it, and one of the people that came in and was using his services and stuff shot one, and it started to come down straight towards the blind. Yeah. And he's like, well, I'm going to catch it. And the guide was like, no. He's like, bring your arm back down. He's like, move. And so he's like, I really want to catch it. And he's like, no. He's like, trust me. And so he finally moved out of the way. Yeah. And it hit a 2x4 that separates each shooting lane, and it broke the 2x4.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because, they weigh like, it just depends on how big of a goose it is. Really, they can weigh anywhere from 12 to 20 pounds. Yeah, maybe insane. Even heavier on some of them. And it's just like, imagine throwing a 20-pound weight across a room. And think about what that would do to drywall, and then just be like, now think about what that would do to your ribs. And just stand in front of it. So.
Yeah, that's insane. Well, that's cool, man. The as far as like duck hunting with waders, like what would you recommend for like a gram weight or a grain weight, whatever it's called, for just warmth?
Man, I'm gonna be honest, I don't ever look at it on my waders. I buy waders based on preference. Okay. And so you know, if the boot's good, then it's good.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at it. Now, if I know the quality of waders that I'm buying, so it's not something that I look at because of that. But I'm pretty sure mine are like 1,600 grams or something.
Okay.
And so like I mean, honestly, I wouldn't buy anything less than 1,200, I guess.
Yeah.
If I paid attention to it, that's probably as low as I would ever go.
Okay.
And but I wear like nice socks and stuff. And I mean, honestly, we move around so much. You know, picking up decoys and stuff, I don't get cold very often. And now it is supposed to be -20 wind chill on Friday, so I'm expecting to freeze to death. But you know, it'll be pretty chilly out there. And so most of the time, I end up wearing like Nike socks under my waders and stuff, and they typically do the job. If it's below, you know, 25, I'll usually throw on some nice wool socks and stuff.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, because I bought some just to try to, you know, get into the hunting. And I think I thought I was buying like 800 or 1,200 gram. And I like finally pulled the kind of the cover where the boot is up. It says 400. And I'm oh crap.
Well, it depends like on where you're buying them from and stuff. And so I don't ever look at, like, the waders I have now are insulated, but you can zip the insulation out. The next waders I purchase won't be insulated other than the boots. Okay. And so, you know, I've been hunting long enough. I'm pretty good at insulating myself. Yeah. And so, you know, I don't have to depend on waders to do it. Plus, if you get them wet, you know, and you got insulation in there, it's, if you can't zip the insulation out, they're done for you know, days, you know, as far as drying out goes. Yeah. So.
Have you had any like waders actually pop on you while you were in the water?
I haven't had any pop. I've fallen in the water like several times. Last year I fell in the water January 2nd, which would be this year, but it was last season. And it was 12 degrees, and that was at like 5:30, 6 in the morning, and because shooting light I think was around 6:30, and I hunted until 8:30. I told all the guys, because we had a banger hunt the day before, and I knew we were gonna have a decent hunt that morning, and I said I'm gonna hunt until I can't feel my toes. And which was true. I did hunt until I couldn't feel my toes. I just happened to trip over a log. I went and parked my boat, happened to trip over a log that I on the way back. So I walked back to my boat. I'd already made it over to my tree safely, and I remember I had a Gatorade in my boat that I wanted, and so I walked back to my boat, tripped over a log on the way there, and I was like, oh, almost got me, you know, and then tripped over the same log on the way back because I'm an idiot. And yeah, I mean, you know, some days it's warm enough that you just go, oh yeah, no big deal if I get wet and stuff, and there are other days like that day where, like, when I rode out, it's a 25-minute boat ride out of there, I was freezing to death. Like, I didn't have anything that was dry. It rained a whole lot on New Year's, and all my gloves were wet, so I couldn't gripping the tiller handle on my boat. Like, my hand was freezing off. All my duck calls had frozen because I took my lanyard off and just set it on the seat of my boat. They'd all frozen to the seat of my boat on my hydroturf that supposedly wouldn't freeze. And so you just kind of like roll with the punches on like that and stuff. And I got back to the truck and pulled the boat out of the water really quick. And I just waited. I think everybody else hunted for like another 2.5 hours or something like that. And literally just sitting there, had my sleeping bag in the truck, because I've been sleeping in the truck, put my sleeping bag on, crank the heat on high, and just wait for all the feeling to come back in my body. And it was a little chilly. A couple years ago, I fell in, and I fell off the side of the boat, but like the boat wasn't moving. It was like basically like stepping off a curb, like onto a street, except just imagine the street wasn't there.
So you just kept going.
It's like the boat was beached, and so I totally assumed that, like, I was like, oh, I'll just step out right here. And I just stepped out, and my buddy Denver was like, he was like laughing before I even hit the water. And so I hit the water, and I was just cold that morning, and it was 20 degrees that morning too. And it's only like the cold days where you end up falling in and stuff. And then, you know, like I'm fallen in plenty of times for that, but those are kind of the more memorable ones and stuff. You just, you know, deal with it. Like, there are days like this coming Friday when it's going to be in the negatives, and it'll just probably be 2 of us hunting, and we've already said, hey, if one of us falls in, our hunt's over. Like we're picking everything up. We're going back to the truck because you just can't. There are times where you just can't survive past that, and you won't make it through that very long in that kind of weather.
That's wild. And so as far as like all the different flyways, how many are there in the United States?
So there's Pacific Flyway, which like runs through California, Central Flyway, which kind of debated, I guess, on where it really runs through, but like sort of Montana, North Dakota, up around Canada, everything's very convoluted. So like North Dakota is a big breeding ground for ducks, or brooding, whatever it is that they actually say. And so the prairie pothole region up there, ton of ducks. But if you watch like an actual map, like there's guys like Cohen Wildlife Labs and stuff where they track ducks, they radio track ducks and stuff, with little backpacks. And so you can watch how they spread out, and they come out from North Dakota and they go to the Eastern Flyway, which is all up and down the East Coast. And then they come through the Mississippi Flyway, which obviously runs straight down the Mississippi River. That's what we hunt in. And then there's the Central Flyway, which kind of runs, Kansas, Oklahoma, kind of like that
down
area
through Texas, stuff like that.
Yeah. And so most of the ducks really all originate up towards that area, especially mallards. Whenever you're looking at them, a lot of guys like to go up to like Saskatchewan and hunt and stuff there, and it's cool to look at maps like that and just see like where those ducks are going, and like because you'll watch one leave from North Dakota and he'll end up all the way down, in like Baja, California, and you're like, dang, like that's wild. Or you see them around, Houston, Texas, or one go all the way down to Florida and stuff, and you're like, dang, like why are you going that far? Why aren't you just coming straight down and going down the Mississippi Flyway?
Like just stay in your lane so you can get to me so I can kill you.
Yeah, pretty much. So.
That's wild.
And they're interesting to watch those things. I love looking. You get all in on stuff with duck hunting whenever you guys like us, and you appreciate the actual aspect of like what Delta Waterfowl and what Ducks Unlimited does, and like all these places like Cohen Wildlife Labs and stuff. You can actually see what the ducks are doing. You care about the migration, because we read migration reports every day, just to see what's going on, see where the ducks are showing up, where they're coming from, what the numbers look like. We read those, we read river charts. It's a whole there's a science to all of it, and it's just it's fun to be a part of it and get to see how it all works.
Yeah, that's wild. It's cool too, because it's like just going on the idea of like how different deer hunting is compared to duck hunting. Like with duck hunting, it's like when I first started, I did a bunch of research, learned a bunch of stuff, which was cool. And then from there, it's like deer are pretty central for where they stay. So it's like at that point, you just have to learn their pattern. But with duck hunting, it feels like it's completely different. It's like the same group of ducks or that same whole pack that are coming through this area may not come back through next year, which is just wild.
So I don't know for sure that the same ducks are coming back every year, but there are holes in Arkansas that historically, like, there are ducks there every year. Like, it's like programmed in like ducks. And so like generations of ducks will come there. Like, I've heard before of guys that hunted the same timber hole for years, like generations ago and stuff. And then they tore down that tract of trees, and then they ended up putting like a blind there or something, kind of opened it up and stuff. And the ducks kept coming there every year. And it was just like the
that's
same
just where they go.
Ducks, and so like when people are banding ducks, you can see they'll band a whole group of ducks, and then like one duck out of that group will get killed at a blind, and then another duck the next year out of the same group that had been banded 2 years ago gets killed at the same blind the next year.
Oh, and you can track it from the band.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
that's
so, like,
wild.
Stuff like that's interesting. So
that's wild. That's cool, dude. Well, so as far as like dream hunts and stuff like that, I always like to ask our guests, like, what's your plans for this year, for the rest of the year, next year? Is there stuff you're really wanting to go do?
Man, honestly, most of my dream hunts don't revolve around waterfowl hunting, which is interesting to a lot of people whenever I tell them that. Yeah. Because, man, like, you're so big into duck hunting. Like, I'd be honest with you, I've been on some of the best duck hunt. Really the best duck hunts that there are guys that in their lifetime will never get to hunt in the Arkansas public timber or just in a real timber hole and kill, 40 mallards in a day.
Yeah.
Like I've been on hunts like that you just are like, hey,
that's the limit.
Like,
how
do I top this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how this can get any better. Now, there are plenty of places I'd love to go hunt at. I'd love to go to Habitat Flats. I'd love to go to like White Oaks and stuff. Like, I'd love to go to all these different places because I want to see how they manage things and see how are their ducks different from like ducks in the timber. Yeah. Like there's cool stuff like that. As far as like what I really would like to do, I'd really like to go on an elk hunt.
Okay.
It's just kind of like something I've been wanting to do for forever, or a black bear hunt, just something big game. I really would like to go out west though and draw the tag and completely do it on public land. That is like my thing. Like I enjoy hunting private land, but I would love to go hunt just total BLM land in Montana or Colorado or something, and just either maybe get on an antelope or something like that. That's really what I'd like to do in the next couple of years, and see what I can draw. Dream hunts like that, or it's tough to really call those dream hunts. I mean, some of the best hunts that are and it's probably because I hunt so much, like that are dream hunts, is like I got to take my dad hunting 2 weeks ago, and he's never really duck hunted and stuff, and so like that was more of like a dream hunt for me. Like me and Denver both took our dads, and our dads were best friends, and Denver and I are best friends, so it worked out and stuff. But like that's more like the dream hunts that we have. Like it's like I want to be able to take my dad hunting, and so those are kind of like the dream hunts that we end up with.
Dude, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, dude, I appreciate you joining me on this podcast, too. It's been a really good time. So I want to go ahead, give me your plugs. Tell me where people can contact you. Plug the podcast, please, because I want people to listen to it. It's really good, dude.
Yeah, so it's the Fowlmouth Waterfowl Podcast, Fowlmouth, FOWL. We named it that because our girlfriends or my girlfriend, Denver's wife, said all we talk about is duck hunting. And so we were like, oh, yeah, Fowlmouth. That's all we got.
Yeah, that's a good name,
dude. So it's the Fowlmouth Waterfowl Podcast. It's Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and probably a couple of others, but those are our main listening platforms. And then you can find us on Instagram at the Fowlmouth Podcast, at Tailspin Waterfowl. I'm on Instagram at Jacob Morton, and Denver's on Instagram at Duck Denver. So,
that's cool, dude.
Yeah, he changed his name to Duck Denver on Instagram, and I was like, he goes, you should change it to something cool like that. And I was like, well, nothing rhymes with Jake, so we're stuck here.
Yeah.
So if anybody's got a great suggestion around waterfowl for my Instagram handle, holler at me.
Yeah, please do. Well, cool, man. Appreciate you joining the podcast. Everybody, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yep. See y'all later.